Hi guys, welcome back to Lewis on Film. I am Lewis, and so last week the Oscars were announced. I did my Oscar predictions. I was not a million miles away, but we're not talking about that immediately right now. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. But today I want to talk about an Oscar nominee, and that nominee is Minari. So let's have a look. Okay, so the story is that a Korean family move from California to Arkansas. The parents have immigrated from Korea to California and were working a mundane job. The dad wants more for the family than that and wants to move to this farm in Arkansas, which they do. We meet them just as they arrive at the farm, and so sort of their first reaction to it is the same as us. We meet it in the same way, in the same vein that they meet it. And as the kind of story progresses, this family of four become a family of five because the grandma comes to live with them, played by Yoon Hyo Jung, and she makes things both easier for the family because they've now got someone to look after the kids, so both parents can go to work whilst the grandma stays at home and watches them, or at the very least watches the youngest while the eldest is in school. And in that time, the David, who's the youngest child, it sort of starts to come out of his shell more as he gets to know the grandma, and their relationship grows as she teaches him about the things that she likes, because David doesn't quite get her at the start because she's very she's bad mouthed. She teaches him how to gamble and play cards. She watches the wrestling, and the mother's like, "Oh, that's very violent. He shouldn't be watching that. It's not violent. Go on, hit him, ha ha ha." And she's that kind of character. And David warms to her, and at the big, early on, he's actually quite mean to her and says horrible things and does mean things, and they warm up to each other, and that's the main bit of the story. That's the center of the story, the relationship between the grandmother and the youngest boy. Meanwhile, the parents, so they're working at this farm whereby they sex chickens. Read into that what you like. Basically, they pick up a chicken, and if it's male, they go in one box. If it's female, they go in another box. And Jacob, played by Stephen Ewan, who's the dad, he's really good at this. And in California, he was one of the fastest. Yeri Han, I think it is, plays Monica, who's his wife. She's not very good at it, but slowly gets better, and she's happy to do this. She's happy just to earn the money and live accordingly. But Stephen Ewan, like I say, he wants more than that. So this farm is his American dream. This is his big ambition, and he wants to make it work. Whereas she is kind of annoyed at him for forcing her and taking the children to try and make it work, and she doesn't think it's going to succeed. So they're good. So first of all, the performances here are all nothing short of excellent. They really, really are. In particular, Stephen Ewan, obviously he's been nominated for an Oscar, very, very rightfully so. And Yoon Hyo Jung, she's been nominated for Best Supporting Actress, who plays the bad-mouthed grandma. And she's the spotlight stealer of the film, and I think she probably is in line to take the Oscar. Of course, she is up against Hillbilly Elegy's Glenn Close, another bad-mouthed grandmother. So it's quite interesting that those are the two who are in the main contention, I think. Of course, Glenn Close was nominated for a Razzie as well, which just what? Well, anyway, and Yeri Han as well. She's the mother. She's kind of the linchpin in the other two's performances, really, because whilst she's the grounded one in the room, So Stephen Ewan's working hard, but he's got his head in the clouds, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be fine. This is going to be great. This is working. I'm liking this. Yes, we're going to make money out of this." And the grandmother is, like I say, she's the one. She's watching the wrestling, and she's teaching the kids how to gamble, and she's saying, "What are you doing, teaching my kids this?" So she's the grounded one in the room, and she does a really good job of it. The family dynamic of the whole thing works just perfectly, and as well as that, without actually mentioning it, without going into specific details, we learn a lot about the culture of the Korean family in this film, and the fact that Stephen, like for example, Stephen Ewan, he's the eldest family, so he's got to look after both his family and the family back home, which is why ultimately he brings the grandmother to come and live with them, and then of course there's the grandmother who's keeping she's keeping the traditions safe. She brings with her some stuff that the mother can use for cooking. She brings with her the signature Minari plant, which they plant down by the river, which is beautiful and a very very nice reference. So why is the film Minari is based on this plant that they grow. They grow it in basically they grow an Asian plant in America. They set their roots down in America. You get the idea. This is all really really nice stuff, and it's wonderful. It plays out wonderfully. It's so well directed by Lee Isaac Chung, is the man who wrote and directed it, and he did such a good job. It all feels so natural. All feels so, when the family feels turmoil, you feel the turmoil with them. When they're happy and they're having a lovely time and they're smiling, and you feel it, and you're smiling along with it. And the film's funny. It's funny, and yeah, it's just nice to watch because it's so well done, so well directed, so well performed, so well written, and it all blends together nicely. So it's hard to say anything. It's hard to criticize in that regard, because the film, especially given the fact that it's a very very low budget film as well. I think it only cost $2 million to make. It was prominently, like I say, it's all prominently set on the farm. When they go and meet new people, there's only a few people in the room. Will Patton, who is the only kind of, he's kind of the employee, if you like, of Stephen Ewan when he's trying to grow these plants, and he's a very heavily religious man. Whilst everyone else is in church, he's carrying this giant cross up and down the road. That's kind of his way of worshipping his God, and he is firmly in the belief that God will help you if you believe in Him. And it's done. When I say it's done in a humorous way, I don't mean that it's taking the mick. I really sincerely don't mean that. But it's hard not to kind of see the humorous side of what he's doing, because he wears these big magnifying glasses as like he's seeing the world through big huge eyes. Like he looks at something and it's like, oh wow, that's amazing. Isn't the Lord's work wonderful? And it's that kind of happiness and humour that makes the film work. The bad about the film isn't really there. Like I say, I'm not just saying this either. I don't have a severe criticism of it. The only thing I want to say is I think the film could have easily turned one way or another in terms of delivering either a very heartbreaking finale or a very happy, everything's going to work out kind of finale. It doesn't do either. It goes straight down the middle and says, okay, look, it just lets things play out and says this is you decide how things worked out, and that's fine too. It doesn't pander to any side, either side, which is both refreshing and interesting. Let's say the fact it kind of includes the audience a little bit in that regard, so that they can make up their own minds about what happened. And the other side of that is that the majority of the film that is told through the young boy's perspective of David, whilst, you know, and all these things are going on around him, like, you know, his parents are bickering and they're having a tough time together. They want to make it work, but they really are struggling. And obviously his dad wanting to start this new business, and he wants to help, but he can't because he's got a heart condition, which is alluded to beautifully. Like, it's never strictly said. You know, a character doesn't come along. Hey, how's the boy? Oh, he's got a heart condition. Yeah, blah blah blah. That doesn't happen. It's sort of done intermittently and just delivers little bits of details which say, oh, he must have a heart condition. The audience kind of figure it out here and there, and that's done really well. It's hard to criticise that. It's done very, very, very well. Simple as that. There's nothing heavy to criticise here because it all blends nicely together, and it's a great film. It really is. So overall, I think Minari is a top Oscar contender. It's rightfully nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and others. And I think it would be incredibly evident of how strong its contestants, you know, how strongly it does contest for the big prizes, because if it doesn't win, that means that the ones that have won must be very, very good. Simple as that. And I think it's in the top 3 for the Oscar win. I haven't seen all of the Oscar nominees yet, all the Best Picture nominees yet, but I think it's so hard to beat. I really do. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. Do subscribe. Do let me know what you thought of Minari 2. I have still got plenty of Oscar nominees to review. I'll be doing that in the coming weeks, in the weeks before the Oscars, and I'll give you my final opinion the week before the Oscars are broadcast. So, for now, that's it. Have a great week. I'll see you soon.